Hello everyone, this is Narendra from Civil Department. I am going to explain about hazardous waste management. So up to now we discussed about solid waste management elements and how can we control the solid waste in different areas and how can we reuse the solid waste in a different manner and how can we recycle those solid waste in different ways, and also how can we convert into that solid waste into energies like electrical energy or steam or heat energy. So those things we discussed up to 4 units, and finally the fourth unit says about how the solid waste it will be disposed into the landfills. What kind of the things it will be gives about the landfills, how can we place the solid waste in a proper manner in the landfills. And finally, in the fifth unit, we discussed about hazardous waste management. So, which is different from the solid waste, which is also a type of solid waste, but it is a hazardous waste or harmful for the environment or human being or aquatic life. So many ways it will be causes a impact for the different areas. So coming to the syllabus, the fifth unit consisting of the number of elements, that is hazardous solid waste management introduction, and what are the sources and characteristics of the solid waste, hazardous waste, what kind of the effects it will be possess for the environment, and what are the impacts and what is the risk assessment, how can we imagine the risk regarding or due to hazardous waste. Then how can we disposal of the hazardous waste in different secure landfills. So by the incineration process it will be disposed, and monitoring or by monitoring of the solid hazardous waste, how can we, and biomedical waste disposal, how can we, and e-waste management, how it will be managed in different ways, different process. And one more is what are the types of the nuclear waste, and what are the main sources and characteristics of the nuclear waste, and finally what is the industrial waste management. So these are the things we should be remember for the upcoming of the fifth unit, the syllabus regarding fifth unit it one. Now what is the hazardous waste meaning? So how many ways we can define the hazardous waste? The first of all, hazardous waste it will be refers, it is a substantial or potential threat for the public health and environmental, and it will be due to toxic or reactive or ignitable or corrosive properties it will be having. So by this way we can define the hazardous waste, and according to the US Research Conservation and Recovery Act, that will be RCRA, and India hazardous waste rules and regulations, how can we define the hazardous waste properties, how can we define the materials, include the materials of the flammable materials regarding the flammable or ignitable. So it will be catch a fire easily, and corrosive nature it will be also having, like acidic or alkalic nature, like pH value is not less than 2 or more than 12.5. So maybe having alkalic nature or acidic nature it will be. And what kind of the reactive unstable condition, explosive nature it will be having, and react with the violently with the water. And finally it will be also having toxic nature, it will be contains a harmful chemicals or metals that causes health hazards also. So these are the things, or these are the characteristics it will be having the hazardous waste. And what are the things, or what are the flammable or ignitable waste nature? Like example, if you take paint thinners, so whenever we are applying paints for the surface of the walls from the automobile repair shops also, it will be generated. And waste gasoline or diesel from the fuel stations, that will be also having a flammable or ignitable waste nature. And use solvents like acetone, toluene from laboratories or industries, those will be also having a nature of the flammable or ignitable. And alcohol based and sanitizers also, it will be having a flammable nature, like expired or discarded in bulk amount, those will be also having a huge amount of flammable or ignitable characteristics. And finally, waste cooking oils also in large storage areas, it can be ignitable or it can be flammable nature, it will be having. Those things are those areas we can predict the number of hazardous waste areas. And corrosive nature also, they will be having like acidic or alkalic nature. So those will be used lead acid batteries like sulfuric acid inside, and spent the hydrochloride acid from the steel pickles plants, and caustic soda solution from the soap and detergent industries. So huge amount of hazardous waste, it will be generated from the detergent industries. Ammonia cleaning agents also from households or industries, those will be also having the nature of the hazardous waste. And drainage cleaners with high alkalinity, it will be also having a corrosive nature for the hazardous waste. And reactive waste, maybe it will be having unstable condition, explosive nature, react with the violently, it will be reacts like sodium metal scraps from the laboratories, it will be react with water violently, directly it will be reacts, and it will be causes some disturbance to the environment. And one more thing is ammonium nitrate fertilizer waste, it will be also having explosive nature under the heat or pressure. And hydrogen peroxide residues, whatever the lefting of material from the hydrogen peroxide, like industrial bleaching, can be decomposes explosively. And cyanide waste also, it will be having reactive nature or reactive waste and different areas. And old picnic acids, that will be also having a reactive nature. Those areas will be having different solid waste, it will be having a hazardous nature, we can predict. And toxic waste also, poisonous, harmful for the human health, like mercury, lead, e-waste, pesticides, residues, and pharmaceutical waste, those will be also having toxic nature. So what is the meaning of hazardous waste management? How can we manage these hazardous waste in a different or in a proper or efficient or effective manner? The systematic process of the collection, first of all, wherever the solid waste we are going to be, wherever the hazardous waste we are going to be predicting, we should be collect very properly. And segregation process and storage, transportation, treatment, and final disposal of the hazardous waste in a proper manner. So those will be prevents or reduces the harmful effect for the human health and also environment. So these are the systematic process we are going to be implementing for the hazardous waste. That is the meaning of hazardous waste management. So this hazardous waste management will be having different objectives. So first of all, the human health, it will be protected by the hazardous waste proper management. And environment also, the impact due to hazardous waste to the environment, it will be reduces by the proper hazardous waste management implementation. And ensuring of the safe collection and storage also very safely without causing of any damages. And transportation from one place to other place, the conveyance process, it will be also very proper manner. And disposal process, either by the landfill disposal or by the burnal or by the incineration process, we are going to be disposing the hazardous waste. By this way, we can minimize and recycle the hazardous waste also. By reducing its concentration, we can recycle the hazardous waste. Whatever the material we are finding from different areas, we can minimize the concentration of the hazardous waste and it will be useful for the recycling process. And it will be comply with the laws and regulations or rules and regulations which are made by the hazardous waste management by the Indian government or different governments. Those rules and regulations, it will be comprehensive with the hazardous waste management system actually. And by this way reduces the risk and prepare for the emergencies and support the sustainable development for the hazardous waste management. These are the main objectives we are going to be implementing for the effective hazardous waste management. And hazardous waste management steps, how it will be. So same like that, whatever we see in the solid waste management elements, those things only we can predict or we can see in this area. So whatever we see, so in that area we seen about the waste generation process. Here also same, waste minimization and prevention. And second one is on-site handling, storage and collection. Third one is transportation. And fourth one is treatment technologies we are going to be implementing. And finally, a proper way we are going to be disposing whatever the hazardous waste we finding in different areas in a proper way. So these are the things we are going to be implementing, whatever we are seeing in the diagram or a picture. So what the hazardous waste generation we are going to be collecting in collection bins, and at some other area, at some other proper area we are going to be storing. So in a proper way without causing of any damages or explosion, and transportation from one place to other place also very carefully. And applying of the treatment process, where we are going to be applying the treatment process, we are going to be reducing the concentration of the hazardous waste, and finally we can dispose in a proper way. So these are the 5 elements which are going to be implementing for the hazardous waste management in a proper way. So whenever we see the picture or the flow chart, hazardous waste management elements, whatever the waste generating, we are going to be identification. And the second one is on-site handling, storage and segregation process. And third one is collection and transportation with the labeling process. And safety measures also we are going to be implementing. And the next one is the treatment methods, chemical treatment, biological and thermal treatment process we are going to be implementing. So in that chemical treatment process, we are going to be reducing the concentration or neutralizing the hazardous waste management, hazardous waste concentration. So, and the second one is biological treatment, we are going to be applying the microbial. And third one is thermal treatment, that is incineration process. And the next one is the recovery, recycling process, whatever the metals, solvents, energy, we are going to be, whatever we see in the solid waste management, those things only we are going to be implementing here. And finally, whatever we refused, the material which are coming from the hazardous waste, a secure landfill we are going to be implementing. A deep injection process we are going to be implementing. So by this way, the hazardous waste management elements which are presenting different kinds. So first of all, how can we minimize the hazardous waste, or how can we prevent the hazardous waste in a proper way? First of all, we should be cleaner the production technologies. Wherever we are going to be implementing or production of the different materials, those will be in a cleaning condition. Cleaner production technologies, cleaning of production technologies. In case if you take any kind of example, pharmaceutical example, so the production of the medicine, so in that area also very carefully the medicine it will be produces in a proper way, in a cleaning way. By that way, we can predict the hazardous nature of the waste, and we can stop the hazardous nature of the waste in that area. So the process modification also it will be done. Instead of using of the huge amount of acidic nature, or instead of using of the huge amount of alkalic nature, we should be reduces. So by that way also we can modify the hazardous waste nature into a proper way, into a non-hazardous nature. So process modification means whatever we are implementing the process, those process we should be modified in a proper way. Non-hazardous nature we should be get the output of the light. So material substitutions also may be sometimes may be injected. So instead of huge amount of hazardous material, we should be substitute with the non-hazardous materials. By that also we can minimize the concentration of the hazardous nature of the waste. And recycling or reuse. So by implementation of the recycling and reuse process, we can reduce or we can minimize certain kind of the certain concentration of the hazardous nature for the solid waste. So by this way we can minimize or prevention the hazardous nature of the solid waste in a proper way. That is the first thing. So whatever the hazardous waste which are going to be generating, obviously we can go for the on-site handling process. In that area, segregation very carefully at the source and proper labeling of the hazardous and non-hazardous waste. So by the separation we can understand what is the hazard symbol, what is the non-hazard symbol. So by that way also we can identify whichever is hazardous waste, whichever is non-hazardous waste. And third thing is we should be contain or we should be give the leak-proof containers. So whatever we are storing the hazardous waste in a proper way, so that should be, that containers must be in a leak-proof container. Leak-proof means without causing of any damages for the storage containers. So in that way, the hazardous waste it will be properly stored. And separating of the storage areas also. So non-hazardous waste and hazardous waste we should be stored in different areas or separating areas. So by that way, on-site handling, storage and collection in a proper way it will be done. And transportation, we know very well from one place to another place it will be traveled. The authorized transporters must be, we should be located. So not for the all members, all transporters we are going to be giving. So only for the authorized transporters should be conveyed the hazardous waste from one place to other place. So by that way some insurance will be given whenever the unfortunate things may be happens. Those conditions, the insurance policies that will be also helpful. And use of the manifest system, tracking system also very carefully. And GPS monitoring in India under CPCB guidelines. So these will be gives where the hazardous waste traveling, where the track will be having. So in that way the tracking process also very clearly it will be done. Then treatment technology we are going to be applying for the physical, chemical, biological treatment technologies. Like thermal technology it will be giving insulation process, pyrolysis and gasification. So hazardous waste also we can apply the incineration process, waste to energy. Incineration means in the presence of oxygen we are applying the burning process for the hazardous waste. Pyrolysis in the absence of oxygen. Gasification in the partial oxidation process. So by that way thermal treatment technologies we can apply for the getting of the heat energy as well as electrical energy as well as some kind of the liquid amounts. By that way also we can apply the technologies in a thermal way. Or else if we go for the physical, filtration process is there. sedimentation process, solidification process, and the chemical process in the sense neutralizing. So reducing or balancing of their concentration of this hazardous waste, we are going to be uh, decreasing. The nature of the hazardous nature, we are going to be decreasing by the neutralization process. And one more is oxidation and reduction process, and one more is precipitation process. If you come to the biological system now, remediation process, composting of the biodegradable hazardous waste, applying of the composting process. Whenever we reduce the concentration of the hazardousness, we can use those kind of the hazardous or organic waste into a preparation of the compost or a fertilizer. So in that way also we can apply the treatment technologies. By this way, physical, chemical, biological and thermal technologies we are going to be implementing to use the whatever the hazardous waste which is generating in different areas. So finally, whatever we left or refused the solid waste or hazardous waste, it will be go for their disposal process. How can we dispose in a secure landfills? Like double liner system, leachate collection, monitoring wells. So in that way, the disposal process will be very carefully. So why we are providing double liner system? Whatever the leachate, it will be produced by the hazardous waste. Very carefully it will be collected. And monitoring wells also. What kind of wells it is? These wells are a gas collection wells. So whatever we discussed in the fourth unit about the landfill, in that area we are going to be discussing about leachate collection system as well as gas monitoring system. Same kind of here also we are providing double liner system for the opposing or stopping of the leachate which will be infiltrate into the groundwater or ground. So that will be opposes, and leachate collection system, it will be collected and it will be go for the purification process. And whatever the monitoring wells we are providing, those will be gives certain kind of the gas collection. So that way also secure landfills it will be works. And deep well injection also will be there. So the liquid hazardous waste we are going to be injecting into a deep underground injection process. Very deeper and deeper we are going to be injecting whatever the hazardous liquid waste amount we are predicting or getting. So the deep well injection process, it will be also implemented for the hazardous waste management disposal process. And one more is encapsulation process. It will be immobilizing of the waste in concrete blocks. So in concrete blocks, what we are going to be, whatever we are preparing the concrete blocks, we are going to be immobilizing the waste into the concrete blocks also. So that will be also a type of disposal about encapsulation. And exporting and importing, controlling of the under Basel convention process. So that will be also we can implemented. But the two things we should be remember. What kind of two things? Secure landfills it will be given by the double liner system and leachate collection. Deep well injection process, that will be also a very good disposal process of the hazardous waste management. So in that way, the disposal of the hazardous waste into a different areas. And finally, what kind of the merits? So by this hazardous waste management, the human health, it will be protected from the toxic exposures. Not only the toxic elements present in the body, it will be also exposed into atmosphere sometimes. Those will be also protected the human health by this hazardous waste management. And it will be prevents the air, water and soil pollution and promotes the safe recycling and recovery of the valuable materials and reduces the risk of the fires, explosions, accidents, unfortunate things we can reduce this by this proper hazardous waste management, and which will be ensures legal compliances and avoid the penalties. And finally, it will be supports a sustainable development and resource conservation process. So by this way, the main merits of the hazardous waste management we can see. And second one is, what are the demerits? So we know very well there is a merits and there will be also demerits also there. And wherever we go for the treatment process, transportation, disposal, using of the manpower, those it will be very expensive because it will be very high cost. That is the main demerit of the hazardous waste management. And it will be required advanced technology and skilled manpower also. The illiterate people cannot be done the hazardous waste in a proper way. Improper handling process may be causes accidents or leaks. So the people may be sometimes maybe negligible condition, it will be also there. In that area, the causing of the accidents or leaking of the hazardous waste into the atmosphere, it will be gives a very much amount of the, it will be causes much amount of the impact to the environment also. That is the demerit of the hazardous waste management. And one more is difficult to manage large volumes of the hazardous waste and limited availability of the secure landfills and incineration facility. So that area, in that area also, the hazardous waste it cannot be managed in a proper way. And finally, it will be risk of the illegal dumping if regulations are not providing in a proper way. That means weak conditions. Illegal dumping means it will be create some kind of risk to the environment or human being or aquatic life. So these are the main demerits of the hazardous waste management if we done in a proper way. So by this way, we can understand what is the meaning of hazardous waste management. First of all, what is the definition of the hazardous waste and what kind of the things we can see or predict in hazardous waste, like flammable, ignitable or corrosive, reactive nature, toxic waste. So in different ways we can predict or we can see in a different way. And what is the meaning of hazardous waste management? The systematic process of the collection, segregation, storage, transportation, treatment and final disposal of the hazardous waste in a proper manner. It will be prevents or reduces its harmful effect on the human health as well as environment. And what are the main objectives we can see? And also we can see about the steps. What type of steps involved in the hazardous waste management? How can we done the management of the hazardous waste in a proper way, efficient manner, generation, storage, transportation, treatment, disposal. Every step it will be done in a proper manner, in a smooth manner. Then only the hazardous waste it will be disposed onto the secure landfills very easily. So by this way also we can see merits and demerits. What kind of merits are there and demerits are there. So these are the things we clearly discussed about hazardous waste. Thank you very much. If you have any doubts, you can ask me in the chat box or also you can ask me in the classroom itself. Thank you very much.